Hey guys, as the insanity that is Camp NaNoWrimo draws ever near, I'm sure you've got your plans well underway, I hope. And I usually do the NaNoWrimos as kind of a solitary writer, but I've signed up for Camp NaNoWrimo under Story Detective, so if anybody's still looking for cabin mates, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, stay tuned for my 5 tips on getting through this month with your sanity and your manuscript intact. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you'll be aware of my future uploads. Before we get underway, I want to take a moment to shout out some of the writers that I've met recently. There have been so many lately that it was hard to choose a number, and so I settled on 9. It's an odd number on its own. No matter how many other 9s you add to it, it still equals 9. It's a number that's whole and divisible unto itself, just like a good community should be. Among their number, you'll find a wide variety of writers. Some are authors in progress, others have published already. Give these people some love. You'll find they are quite willing to return your good graces. And if you have 9 more on your list, whether newbies or established authors, drop their links below, and your own channels will not go unnoticed. Let's make a difference, and shout it to the 9s. All of my tips come under one heading: time management. That's the thing that we're all fighting with the most in these NaNoWrimo months. So there's things that we prepare for and things that we don't prepare for, and we don't always optimize our time as well as we could. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. Tip number 1. Probably not the usual tip you're going to hear, but it's probably the thing that's messed me up most on any of the NaNoWrimos that I've been involved with, and that's life. We plan ahead for our manuscripts and we're so busy trying to get everything in our notebooks or index cards or whatever we're doing to prepare for the NaNoWrimo itself that we forget about life. Greatest intruder. Sometimes you can't fight it. I've had my car break down, things that you can't possibly see just take me off far afield right in the middle of the month. But there are some things that we can plan for, and we all procrastinate. We all delay on little things like shopping, our laundry, getting our bills out. Those things that we're neglecting now, by the time the actual writing process starts, are going to be gnawing at us. Yes, we all have those things. So we all know what they are, and we all know what we're procrastinating on aside from our writing. So my suggestion is, if you cook your own meals, plan a little bit ahead. Prep some meals, put them in freezer bags or Tupperware containers, and get yourself a little head start so you don't have to stop and delay and think about shopping and think about picking up that extra gallon of milk at the store. Tip number 2, and this is probably the simplest of tips, and yet it's the one that I've gotten the most flack for when I've mentioned it to writers, and that's utilizing our phones better. If you think about it, we have a dictation device that's with us all the time. We can make notes, we can make scenes, we can make entire chapters when we're not actually sitting at our desk thinking about writing on our computers or whatever we normally do our writing on. Yet we get ideas all the time. I keep a file on my phone that says scenes in the making. Even if I don't have time or want to dictate an entire scene, I will jot down the basic premise for that idea, and I'll first start with a little heading. Scene where so-and-so, whatever character, does this. And then I'll briefly outline the idea while it's fresh in my head, because we know how ideas go. Once we sit down to write, it's like, I kind of remember what the idea was, but there was something else. There was some energy there, and I can't quite focus on it. Get those ideas down while you're out and about, whatever you're doing. It only takes a minute to turn on your phone, click on that file, and speak your idea. And that way, it saves you a ton of time when you get back to your writing. I know dictation when it comes to bigger chunks of your story is hard for a lot of people, and it was hard for me too. But I have a video on finding more time to write, which I will link down below, and I discuss how dictation became more useful to me and how I found more time in my schedule to write just by using it in different ways, not only to remind myself of little scenes and notes, but it progressed into actually getting scenes and chapters done once I got a little bit used to it. You make a start, and when you make a start, which is also covered in that video, you start very small, because once we step out of our comfort zone, it takes time to get used to anything. But if we don't actually try it, then we never know. And don't forget, probably one of the most useful things for optimizing our phone when we're doing NaNoWrimo is remembering to turn it off. Get rid of the messages and the texts and everything that's coming through, the temptations to get on the internet and do things other than. Camp NaNoWrimo. That brings us to tip number 3, and that is another part of optimizing your time using other tools. A lot of us work and we have breaks and lunches that we're doing nothing, and we can optimize our time a little bit better. There are portable keyboards that you can put in your pocket or your locker and use your phone to actually write on your breaks and lunch. There are other things aside from your phone. I have a video on an Alpha Smart Neo, which is great. You can take it anywhere you want and you don't need an internet connection. You write it, you hook it up to your computer, and you transfer everything you've written with a click of a button. It's cheap, it's under $30, and it's mega useful. If you don't have one, I would advise you to look into this. Once people start writing on this thing, especially if you're writing it out in places that you don't want to bring your computer. That a lot of people don't want to lug an expensive laptop to a library or a diner or someplace where it may get food on it or coffee spilled on it. The Alpha Smart Neo is built like a tank, and $30 is not going to destroy you if something happens to it. I also have a video on Amazon's Kindle Fire 7, which for about $50 you get a tablet that you can bring your entire Kindle library with you. You do have an internet connection if you're in a Wi-Fi area, if you need to look something up. And with a portable keyboard, you can connect to this and have a 7-inch tablet that's very expendable. For $50, I don't really think it's that expendable, but it's useful. And again, it's something that you can use for different purposes and bring it with you and optimize your time in ways that you may not necessarily be able to with a laptop, or if you have a big desktop and you can't lug it with you. Consider the possibilities. Publicly, these things take up less space. They're more discreet. It's not like you're pulling out your laptop. You can sit in a corner or in a booth and still have plenty of space to put a Kindle Fire 7 or the Alpha Smart Neo, which is about the size of an average keyboard. Tip number 4, when you're starting something like NaNoWrimo, if you're not already writing every day and it's not your habit to be at your computer or wherever you write every single day working on something, getting into that habit, it's like running a marathon cold. So aside from preparing your outlines, or if you're a pantser, whatever you're preparing for the Camp NaNoWrimo, consider either writing a couple of scenes or a couple of chapters of your story before it starts. And if that's cheating under the NaNoWrimo rules, then sit down with another work in progress or a short story or some writing prompts and do a few days or even a week ahead of time. Start writing something every day so you're not entering that marathon cold. If I don't have a warm-up, then I spend several days warming up, and those are several days that's usually lost to me, where I'm not getting in my word count, or I'm trying too hard to get my word count in and I'm writing sloppy crap. Once I get a warm-up and my brain is moving, I enter the whole thing a lot more effectively. Also, when you're thinking about that head start and word count, and I would say warming up is not just an option, it's essential. You can choose your own word count. If your novel is going to be 50,000 words and you get 5,000 to 10,000 words done ahead of time, you can make your word count 40K for the month, and you've got a big head start on getting your project finished. Tip number 5, if you're writing and doing nothing but writing, 30 days is a long trek. When you have a lot of output without input, your brain can burn itself out or get fatigued a lot more quickly. Try to take time out of your schedule to put input in your head. We know that reading before writing is fuel, but also think about resting your brain. Think about taking an afternoon a week at least and going out and doing something totally different. And then don't think about your writing. Movies, having a movie day or a movie night, these are also great ways to fuel your ideas. Take a walk in the park. Do some self-care, and that's a great ideas generator. And I guarantee if you're having problems or you're looking for answers, doing something like that is the fastest way for those answers to just come to you once you relax and occupy your physical self so that you get out of your own way. If you follow through as best as you can, whatever happens in life that may surprise you, or whatever fatigue that comes along that's unexpected, at the end of the month you're going to have more word count than you did before the month began. It's always a win for you personally, and don't get yourself so wrapped up in the idea of success that you end up causing yourself disasters. We are programmed to almost have everything or nothing, and we try so hard for success that we become candidates for self-defeat. And that is probably the best tip of all. So good luck to everyone who's involved. Hopefully this video has given you some value. Remember to subscribe, and we'll see you at the end of the month, and hopefully we'll have our projects done, close to done by then.